A very good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where and when you're watching us from. My name is Mutathi wa Shirawanyaga, mujire wa mbari ya Karigithi, na ngwihoka kuma ng'ongo ciothe iria ciumaga huho. Muri thayo, thayo, thayo. Today is a good day. It's the 11th of February. The year is 2024. And today, as we said, as we announced, we are going to do it a little bit different. We have a debate or a conversation night. And here we have two teams that are represented. Team Zanzi all the way from South Africa and Team Nairobi from Nairobi, Kenya. So we have a discussion that we are dubbing it, or a debate, we are dubbing it the battle of the systems. So guys, you already know, as long as you're an African or you have been in Africa, most of you know that the systems sometimes do not really work well in our favor, and that's why we are in the status quo that Africa is in. So our purpose and our intention tonight is to look at this issue that the systems are not okay. One team, Team Zanzi all the way from South Africa, they are telling us that, you know, the systems are bad, but we do not need to come up with new ones. What we just need to do is make sure that the old systems are refined. They are, you know, just done better so that the systems can be better, be it political, be it social, be it whatever system that are there in Africa. And the team from Nairobi is saying a totally different thing. They are saying that, you know, to hell with the old system. It is not working. Therefore, we should just come up with totally new systems so that Africa can work for the better. And this is how we are going to do it. Remember, last Sunday, there was a team all the way from South Africa that uh, had a debate. We had Team A, Team B. If you guys have not watched that, maybe you can go to Go Youth Podcast YouTube channel and check it out. There was that team that was there, and they argued their case, and this is the team that won. And the team that won is what is now going against Kenya today, arguing for the systems. Now we are going to handle it this way. We will allow a speaker to speak for 5 minutes, one from Kenya speak for 5 minutes, one from South Africa speak for 5 minutes without interruptions. So therefore, you will kindly urge you to hold on to your POIs, to hold on to your objections until the speaker is done. After one speaker from Kenya and one speaker from South Africa has spoken, we will open that line for objections and rebuttals and POIs. And then we'll do that again, and I will tell you how what next we will do from there. Now we'll have one speaker from Kenya now and one speaker from South Africa, and I like to start with the South African team to tell us or argue their case in front of the plenary that is here with us tonight. I think Wanda is here, and Wanda, we give you exactly 5 minutes to argue your case. Wanda, the floor is yours.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much for the platform. I think I would basically start with a system as a whole, defining it, what it is, and it will actually enlighten as to what we are actually talking about. This is a set of things working together as parts of mechanism or an interconnection network. So actually, this is a network that is brought in parts form, but interconnecting to put up something that is one that we can call a system. I will tackle an example of the education system. Like if we look at South Africa right now, the system actually starting from the what we call the ECD, early childhood development, when we still have some very little babies, they are taken in, they are integrated into the education system, where they are just going to get some basics of the education that they are going to get. Then we take it up from there. That will possibly take from as little as maybe from your 1 year, 1.5 years, they can be integrated there until maybe they go to what we call the primary education, where we get some grades there, especially here, it's grade 1 up to grade 8. That's the system there. Then we have the secondary education, where we start with the grade 9, the grade 8, actually 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. The 12th grade, that's the one that we call here the matric grade. When now you'll be given a national certificate, you are recognized that you've been going to school, so that you can be now absorbed in tertiary education, like the universities. If you maybe didn't perform well on the grades that are actually needed in universities, that's when you can be also absorbed in some other colleges, where we say now you can, from this, maybe like, for instance, if you have a pass mark in any subject, starting from maybe 60% going up, they will grade you as a bachelor's pass. Then you are now qualified to go to any university. Any university can take you up. But now, if maybe you are possibly below that, you will be qualified to go to some certain tertiary education colleges, where you can do some vocational education and things like that. Then after that, now when you are in the university, it now depends with the discipline that you have taken. Doctorate, you take maybe 7 years, engineering, some 5 years, differing with the type of discipline that you have taken. So basically, that's the system that is there, that takes a person up to having or attaining a degree in your hands, starting from that level up until that. Then I would want to say that taking it from the perspective of an African person, this system, it has been working, but there are some refineries that have been put, because we can actually look at in the first instances, there have been some bottlenecks of how they could in the uptake, like when you have achieved matric, that is your secondary education. There are some certain universities that were not affording some learners the opportunity to be taken or to be absorbed there. That was kind of a bottleneck system that was there because of the apartheid. I'm sure you are well aware of the apartheid era that was here. It was just meant that black people should not go as far as this, because if you go up there, then you may be able to equal the white people. But now it has been improved that some people are able to go there. The bottleneck is now is actually gone now. What I would want to say is, though there is actually room for improvement on this system, I would suggest, like, as African people, if this can be taken like education as a system, if it can be imposed to people, to any household, that let it be so compulsory that in any household people go to school. This education system should actually sink, and let it be something that people know that whenever you are found not taking your kids to school, whenever someone is deprived of that right of going to school, it is not a good thing. So I am actually putting it forward that this is a point of improvement, that it can be imposed, that let it be so much compulsory. Like, if we are now taking it at an African stage, if it is applied to every African nation, to every African household, that this thing, because it will then change the perspective of how we interact with the globe. it will then change the perspective of how we can be integrated into other nations. It won't be so much difficult, like as we are communicating right now. I am in South Africa and we are communicating with Kenyans. It is because of the system that I myself, as an individual, I have accepted. So I am able to communicate with Wachira. I am able to communicate with Timothy. So if it is taken into that context, that each and every household in Africa, touching to that very remote place, if they are included, then it's fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Wonder there. That was a wonderful submission. That now marks the first speaker from South Africa. Following with our rules and regulation of the House tonight, we are going to withhold any objections that we have or any bit of information that you might have from that. And we'll go to our first speaker from Kenya. So the first speaker from Kenya, the floor is yours.
Yeah. I'd like to first start arguing my case by saying that the system within our continent is not working at all. Because if it were working, we'll not be hearing of cases of corruption, we'll not be hearing of things like the housing crisis. And it's only wise that in realizing that if the system is not working, we try to come up with new and creative ways of addressing these inefficiencies within our system. And I am a good student of history. And for that reason, I believe when you look into our past, you can find probable solutions to these problems because a lot of times our past informs our present. And in looking into our past, two words stand out: avant garde. If you look at it in terms of literature and the arts, an avant garde idea is an idea that, or a piece of art that challenges the norm, that goes beyond expected belief, that goes beyond what seems normal. And that's where I'd like to start my argument from because a lot of times these avant garde artists don't follow what society deems to be normal. And I chose art specifically because I believe that art holds within it the power to transform society and create change.
I think we have lost Mina, if I'm not wrong. Timothy, can you hear Mina?
No, not at all, not at all. He seems to have network problems.
Yeah, I think we've lost him, and we will give him another chance to speak. And just as I buy time for him, I'll give. He was speaking at the second minute, so I will check on that. As I wait for him maybe to reconnect, there are some comments that are coming in from all areas of the continent. Allow me to go through them. We have one from Fidel Castro Wesonga, I think from Kenya, and he's saying niko ndani kwa show Koromotangi representing. So for those who do not understand Kiswahili, niko ndani kwa show, that means I'm in the show. And then we have somebody by the name SL Vision Group. He says, hello, my name is Lawrence. I've noticed that there are more contestants from Nairobi than South Africa in this debate. I'm curious about the reasons behind this discrepancy. Now, let me explain to you, SL. It is not a choice. It's actually we are waiting for South Africans. I don't know where they are. So that is the best answer that I can explain right now. Maybe Rumom will tell us, and Ali they'll explain to us why South Africans are not here. But we are supposed to be 4 Kenyans representing Team Nairobi and 4 South Africans representing Team Zanzibar. So it is not a decision that I've made. So don't worry. We hope that they'll be able to join us by the end of this show. And if you are able to come on board as a contestant, please, we'll be happy to host you also, so that Team Zanzi can be well represented. We also see Jeff Miner saying it is good to see you guys. Very engaging conversation. Thank you, Jeff. And also we see Dan Jinju saying Miner was on a roll. Now, Miner is back. Miner is back. Miner, are you back?
Yeah, sorry about that. I had issues with my network. It just goes to point with the system not working in Africa. Just goes to support my point. Yeah. So just like I was saying before, the system that we find ourselves in within has a lot of inefficiencies within it. And I was trying to go back into history, looking at these avant-garde artists who challenged the norm, who tried to get out of the box, if I could say so. And like I said before, I chose art specifically because it appeals to a lot of us. It's easier to influence people using art than using intellect, I will say. And I'll give you the perfect example of an artist who I believe was avant-garde, was very forward-thinking, and that is Francis Kere. He's an architect from Burkina Faso. So Kere was born in Burkina Faso, but he studied architecture in Germany. And after completing his education, he wanted to come back to his home country and build something of himself. So in coming back to his home country, he thought, what could I do? With him, he had $50,000. So he decided he was going to build a school within his home country. But then when trying to build the school, he was faced with a challenge. He was forced to conform to a norm which to him did not seem right. Because what the rules are stone and mortar. And looking at it from an African perspective, first of all, those things are not easily found within the African continent. And then looking at the local place he was in, if he built a house, he will be presented with issues to do with ventilation and issues to do with air conditioning. So he decided to think out of the box and come up with a solution that, even though was not conforming to the norm, fixed a problem which he believed needed to be fixed. So what he did was he decided to build using clay, something which seems very radical and rudimentary to look at it. So he faced a lot of challenges with people telling him that your architecture does not conform to conventional standards. But his reply was that the architecture lies not in the object, but in the objective. So you need not to fix your way of thinking in trying to solve a problem, but you need to find creative ways of building things. So he decided, let's go on. He built his houses using clay. And by the end of it all, in 2022, he actually won a prize. He won the Pritzker Prize for being the best architect, not only within the African continent, but also in the entire world. It just goes to show you that when you choose not to restrain yourself with this box of thinking, your horizons are endless, if I could say so, because he created a form of architecture that is African, that does not conform to what we need. And in trying to break out of the box, he earned a prize for it. Just goes to show you that sometimes we need not follow the systems, but we need to create new systems that fit what we believe is right. And then on to my second example. I'm also a student of science, and in science, we've all heard of Galileo Galilei, perhaps the greatest modern scientist in this era. So Galileo lived in a time in which religion was the order of the day. He lived in a time in which the church dictated everything and anything about society. So during Galileo's time, the church believed that the earth was at the center of the universe. But Galileo, being a scientist, chose not to believe what he was told, but chose to experiment and try to find the truth by himself. And Galileo, in trying to find the truth, he discovered that the earth was indeed not at the center of the universe, but it was the sun that was at the center of the universe. And in making that discovery, at that time he was shunned, but after some time he was vindicated. And we all now believe that the sun is at the center of the universe. And as I conclude, I'd like to conclude by saying that Galileo said that the truth is very easy to understand. The point lies in finding the truth. And I'd like to add by saying finding the truth lies not in accepting or following the system, but trying to challenge it and find new ways of thinking. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mina, for that. Thank you. Now we have had our first two speakers from both sides, that is Mr. Wanda and Mr. Mina, from both sides. And this is the chance where I allow the entire floor to render in their POIs and any objections to any of the speakers that have spoken before us. You are free to open your mic and give your POI or any objection if there is. If there isn't, we will proceed. I think there is none. And just to allow you to think if there is any, I'm seeing comments coming in from across the continent. I can see Mary Wanjiku saying she's in. I'm in. Thank you. And everybody else who's tuning in live, Dan Jinju, Jeff Miner, and the rest. One more time, is there any POI from either side of the house? There is none. Now, I want us to proceed to the next set of speakers, one from South Africa and one from Kenya. And as they're preparing to do so, I'd like to remind our viewers from across the continent, if you're watching from South Africa, watching from Kenya, you can vote for the team that will persuade you at the end of this debate. And you get to do that. Check the description of whatever place you're watching. If you're watching us from Wachira Speaks YouTube channel, you can go to the description of the broadcast. You will find a voting link there. If you're watching us from Go Youth Podcast from South Africa, go and check the description box of that channel. You will find the voting link there. If you're watching us from Rumo Moloto Facebook page, you can go and check the description of this broadcast and you can vote from there. Voting starts now. Now, let us move to the second speaker from South Africa. The second speaker from South Africa, the floor is yours. Ali, please unmute so that you can proceed. The second speaker from South Africa.
Yeah, I am not sure if you are able to hear me loud and clear from your end.
Yes, we can hear you. Kindly proceed. You have 5 minutes.
We can hear you. Kindly proceed. 5 minutes. All right. Good afternoon, good evening, good day, good morning to everyone that is watching. My name is Andy Merikane. I'm on the team of Mzansi, as we are actually agreeing that we need to actually improve the system. I will be actually looking on the side where one says that, hey, now they don't have a proper people. Like they are told that you have to allow them in South Africa to be there because they are Africans. At the moment, you have a serious challenge where you find that there are some security concerns. You find we have a lot of people coming from other African countries, which are full here because of the current system that they are using at the moment. It's not working. You find the Minister of Police or the Defense Force now, they will come with maybe campaign to say that let everybody who does not have papers go home. Maybe from Kenya, Zimbabwe, but now let them go home. When they're busy implementing the system that people they need to go back home, here comes the African Union. There comes Pan-African people. They said that no, we are all Africans in the soil of Africa. There's no one who must change one from another one's country. This was a problem. I am coming with resolutions that this must come to an end because it caused some security concern. I will tell you what is happening now in South Africa, where we have a lot of people, some of them are doing things that are not good, which are some of the security measures that have been, taken out because of these people. Some of them, when they're sleeping, they're knocking, they're coming into our houses, businesses have been taken down. When you check these people, you can't find them even on the system. Their fingerprints are not visible. Ask yourself, who are these people? We know them. There is a strain on the resources. The government is not able to have enough resources to get away within the country. Why? somewhere else sitting saying that leave the people in your country. They are African brothers and sisters. Let them stay. On whose resources? We don't have enough resources this side. And we have a lot of them that are staying in camps. It also affects our economy. At the moment, I can tell you that there's an oversupply of labor at the moment. But a lot of people, most of them, they don't even have proper paperwork. They're here in the country with our young brothers and our young sisters who are able to perform some of the jobs, but some of employers accept to say, we are not going to employ South Africans. They are lazy. We are going to focus on our other African sisters. Why? Because one, they, in terms of money, they just, whatever they give it to them, they are okay. They don't have any issues. You see, it's causing a serious problem. I'm suggesting that we need to make sure that we stick to strict law. If one is coming from an African country and must move to another African country, there should be strict rules that need to be followed. Because at the moment, in South Africa, we have a lot of people that are educated, who have qualifications. They are not able to get jobs. The reason being is that there is an oversupply of labor in the meantime. That is causing a problem. And it also leads to social tension, where you find that some of the residents of this country of South Africa, they end up fighting with some of our African brothers to saying that they're taking their jobs, they're not able to get services when they go to the hospital because the people are there. It also caused a humanitarian concern in the meantime. There are a lot of things that are happening now. There are a lot of NPOs in the meantime that are raising a lot of money. That money was supposed to go into programs that will assist the young South Africans in order for them to be better tomorrow. That money now is going to some of our African sisters and brothers who decided to leave their countries and countryside. Now they have to buy them bread, they have to buy them clothes, useless things. Because of people decided to leave their country and come to a country. We are not saying they should not come here. They should come here in a legal way. Unless if they are not able to, let them go to proper channels. But at the moment, we are overpopulated. Security, there's a concern of matter of security at the moment. People are stealing, they can't be traced at all. There is a economic impact at the meantime where there's oversupply of labor. And I can tell you, even in the meantime, most of those people, they don't care how much you pay them. You find that you have to pay them a certain level. They don't care. You give them what they want. And that is actually, it is compromising a lot to a lot of professions that we have in the meantime. We have a lot of people that are qualified engineers. They are not able to get jobs in the meantime. Why? We are overpopulated and overskilled because of these people who came into our country that they are not qualified. Let them go home. These people, they are not qualified. They have proper paperwork and they're in this country, and some of them are thieves. And they're in this country. They still, we can't even trace them. I'm saying to those Pan-Africanism that are saying that let the people stay in the country. Whether they have paperwork, whether they have paperwork, they should only stay as a matter of concern if there is war in their country. We have a lot of our African sisters and brothers that are coming from other African countries. When you listen to the reason why they're coming here, they will tell you about hunger. We are also hungry this side. That's why in the meantime, we are not able to use the state resources because the state resources are over being used. The government, in the meantime, it also has to reserve some funds to have these people. This must come to an end. A resolution must be taken where our government, it needs to be strict. Even those that are sitting in the African government, they need to come with the constitution to say that those that are moving from other countries illegally, except there should be an exception of war. If there is a war, let them go. But if people are running from other countries, are coming here because of hunger, because of there are no jobs, and they're not coming here legally, no. I would say, Amanda, let them go back. These people are causing problems in the meantime. We are not enjoying our country in the meantime. There are a lot of people. We are overpopulated. People are here taking jobs. I know someone says South Africans are lazy. We are not lazy. How can we be lazy where there are people that are coming from other African countries? I'm not talking about the qualified ones. I'm not talking about who came to this country legally. I'm talking about the people who came to this country illegally. Those people are causing a problem on us. Let the African Union come and use.
Ali, indeed, thank you for that passionate submission. Your time is up. We have heard you, and comments also coming in as we are waiting for the second Kenyan speaker. Somebody by the name of Dan Jiju is asking, am I the only one who can't hear Ali clearly? From my end, I was hearing him clearly. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe if it was felt across board. Uh, Alex Oburu also saying, great. Thank you for watching us live. Remember, you can vote for your team on the description box. Vote for the team that you think have persuaded you tonight or is going to persuade you tonight. Now, before we get to any POI or any objections, we'll allow the second speaker from Kenya to proceed. So, second speaker from Kenya, the floor is yours. You have 5 minutes.
Hello everyone, I hope you can hear me. My name is Grace Moresi and I'm proposing that we should create new methods for change to happen. And it's as easy as this. Why are we on YouTube right now? And I love my the first speaker, and he is very passionate and very charismatic on what he is talking about. He has highlighted the issues very clearly, and issues like unemployment, issues like corruption, and we go through the same issues here in Kenya. However, ladies and gentlemen, that only boils down to one thing: for you to do something, for change to happen, something extraordinary has to happen. So what does that mean? We need new systems. And just to echo something about that is, when he talked about strict policies and strict measures, where has that taken us? Where has the strict measures taken us? I've been here for years and years, but how far has the change been able to be seen? Because the strict measures have caused a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of implication and a lot of justice not to happen. So I'd like just to start from there, but now on to my argument. So the first argument is, just a minute. Okay, sorry for that. So my first argument is basically, I will talk about the judiciary system because that's where justice lies in. When we talk about creating new methods and new changes, we do not mean that we sleep, wake up, think about new technologies, new system, and then they just sit there. If you are a Gen Z in 2024, there are a lot of unemployment cases, right? Fact. But how many opportunities do we have on the media? Do we have online? How many people have tapped their knowledge to cash? How many people have actually stepped out and used TikTok, just to earn money and to just get out of their comfort zone, and the GDP of the country changes in turn? Now, back to the judiciary. So the justice system, Lisa, what does that mean? In Kenya, from 2019 to 2022 alone, we have like over 500,000 cases that have not been heard. And just to bring you up to speed, in Kenya, we have election petitions and we have sexual offense cases. Election petitions take 6 months to finish, only 6 months, and it is written in the constitution, 6 months only, it has to be finished. But how about the sexual offenses cases? More than 10 years, 5 years, ladies and gentlemen. What does that tell us? The things that people value are not what the things that we value as a society are not what are valued by other people. So then what does the judiciary do? It comes up with a case tracking system, that is the e-portal, where everyone in the judiciary can access it, and they can be able to track the cases, and it's easier because it's not traditional. So can you imagine if we were stuck to a world of continuity? What does that mean? That means that we could still be stuck in the emblem of cases that are not being heard, cases that are taking longer to be decided. And is that really justice? Is it? So it's only people who fear new methods that can't stick to the fact that that can be implemented. So here's the problem. We are using old methods to try and maintain these new methods, and that cannot work. When we follow the systems and try to bring methods that can be amplified and can be used, it becomes very easy. And the 2010 constitution in Kenya is something that shows that, because before that, yes, we got our independence, but it looks like we still are colonized by people who are in our skin, and they took up everything that the Westerns came here and gave us. So the 2010 constitution is a new method. It's a method that was promulgated to help us to be able to look for other methods, to make justice fair, to make justice accessible to everyone, whether you have money, whether you don't have money, the vulnerable, who don't know about law in the society. So I'll be saddened if this house sits on the motion that we should use the system of continuity, because continuity is rigid. My first speaker talks about education systems, but how many education systems, how many people have gone through that same system and finished through it, and they do not have jobs and they do not know their purpose? How many? So I'm modeling. We're not changing, we're bringing more systems. We're adopting new methods because the latter didn't work. So when we do that, it only disrupts change. Change is inevitable, change is uncomfortable. And without that, I don't see a way how continuity can really promote this justice that we want, this employment that we want, this education that we want. So ladies and gentlemen, it should be very sad to sit here and just state that continuity is the system that should be adopted. We are all consequences of continuity and of that culture and tradition. So everything we do, the normalcies, the narrative that we do every now and then, are a consequence of that. So every time we decide that there's a new problem here, so then we are going to adapt this method fully and close our minds that we cannot adapt new methods. It's revolutionary, so it is a journey. So with that, I'd like to close it at that. But I don't know, I think we are all here because of the new system, and I hope the House supports that. I'm done.
Thank you, Miss Grace, for that submission. Thank you for that. And now that sets the end of the first round, that we have heard from two speakers from Kenya and two speakers from South Africa. That is Mr. Wanda, Mr. Minor, and now we have heard from Mr. Ali and Miss Grace. And before we proceed, I like to ask if there is any objection, any POI, point of information, from any of the speakers that have spoken. Anybody who has an objection? Yes, go ahead, Teresa.
I have an objection to Ali. I like to note that the 10% of the refugee population in the world resides in Kenya, Uganda, Sudan, and Ethiopia. When you talk about unemployment and corruption in South Africa, I wouldn't attribute it to foreigners. I believe if you change the approach into a more before that, I believe existing systems are not always the answer to contemporary issues. New problems require different approaches. In being that actually Kenya has the largest refugee camp in Africa, called Dadaab, we've found a way to counteract the high numbers of the immigrant population in Kenya. We've taken a more innovative approach. We've taken a collaborative approach with other African countries, and we are having a solidarity, Pan-Africanism, and international solidarity approach. If the systems you have are not serving the vision of your country, why not alter them? Enforcing the systems that you have will not reduce unemployment, will not reduce corruption. It's only through innovative ways and collaboration that you're going to be able to solve the needs that you've been talking about. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Teresa. Before Ali responds to that, is there any other objection or point of information on the floor of the House? I think there is none. Ali, you can respond to Ms. Teresa. Ali, you can unmute and respond to the POI that has been rendered to you. I'm not sure whether Ali can hear me, but Ali, if you can, kindly respond.
You said Ms. Teresa. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. To respond to your POI or objection or your question.
Ali, you can unmute and respond to the POI that has been rendered.
Yeah, I've unmuted. I'm not sure if you're able to hear me from your end. I believe so.
Yes.
I believe you'll be able to hear me. Responding to the POI that have been tabled on the table.
I'm not sure whether Ali can hear me, but Ali, if you can, kindly respond.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear, sir. Let me proceed. The audio might be delaying at your end. Because of the network or something. But let me go through. Like responding to the POI that have been tabled on the table is that, and I am not actually saying that all the African sisters and brothers that are in this country are actually doing other things. I'm not saying that. Let me table that. What I'm saying is that at the moment, there are cases whereby even the government, they are not even able to trace some of the people that are doing that. You find maybe there's a cash in transit, or maybe there's any other thing that people were stealing. And it was also mentioned that, even if you go on record, it was also mentioned that there are people that are some of our African brothers and sisters that are stealing within South Africa. And those people are not even on the system. You can't even find those people on the system. Their fingerprint is not traced. They don't have passport. They're not on the system. I'm touching that because that's a problem that in the meantime in South Africa we're experiencing. I am not generally saying all our African brothers and sisters are actually doing that. I'm just touching it to say that there should be a system that needs to be created, starting from the African Parliament, which can work for everyone. Because in the meantime, we are taking steps. We are bringing new things on the table to say that, okay, if that is the case, let everybody go back home. Now, there are people sitting back in other African countries, they'll be talking on the social. Whoa, leave our brothers and sisters in South Africa, or else we'll start something else. You see, that's causing a problem. It's causing a serious problem. I can tell, I'm aware of what you're saying, that a lot of people are in other African countries, but what we see in South Africa, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. If you remember the story of what happened in Cape Town, where most of our African brothers and sisters, they decided to go and camp in front of the parliament. What do you call that? A lot of things are happening in this side.
Okay. Thank you, Ali, for that rebuttal there. Now we want to proceed to the third speaker from Kenya and the third speaker from South Africa. And before we do that, more comments coming in live and clear that somebody by the name Dezembe once saying that good evening, my name is Prof. Adolf. I'm listening from South Africa. Nice topic. Thank you. We also have Dan Jinju saying, I'd love to hear Ali's response to the change of xenophobia based on his submission. So Ali, kindly take note of that, and you'll be responding after the speakers have spoken. That Dan Jinju loves to hear your response to the charge of xenophobia based on his submission. And then we have Rispa Kimenju saying, let's go, Kenya. We have also Dezembe one saying that there's an echo on your side, Ali. Kindly check on that. Also, somebody saying that sauti iko na hitilafu kiasi. That means there's some sound which there's a problem with the sound. I hope right now it's okay. And then Katleho HR Services saying the discrepancy is caused by the load shedding, unfortunately. So I think this one was a response from what SL Vision Group had sent on why we have more Nairobians or Kenyans in the floor than South Africans. So I think Katleho HR Services has explained the discrepancy is caused by the load shedding, unfortunately. And that's maybe why I'm hearing Collins or Minor saying that the system is already bad. So I don't know. Let us proceed with the third speaker from Kenya, and I can see somebody by the name of Lawrence SL in the studio. Kindly make sure your microphone is on and your camera is on so that you can come on board. Right now, the 5 minutes for the third speaker from Nairobi, Kenya starts.
Okay, thank you for this platform. So I'm going to be talking about entrepreneurship, specifically in the economic setup. So one of the ways in which we can actually better our systems is by embracing innovative ways. An example is the Taoboa villages, which was started by the Alibaba Group in China. The Taoboa villages are remote villages in China, and they're mostly known for farming, like they're farming produce. They are at a disadvantaged they're at a disadvantage level compared to the capital cities of China. So they chose to use e-commerce as an avenue to better their sales. So most of the villages chose to open their stores virtually on an e-commerce website to better their sales. As we speak, most of the Taoboa villages, most of the families that have enlisted themselves in the Taoboa platform have ended up making a revenue of $1 billion annually. And this is a village that did not have access to Wi-Fi, did not have a great access to internet. They were at a disadvantaged level. They faced most of the challenges we face in the developing countries that we are in. So this is actually an example on ways that we could embrace the coming trends, hop on the technological wave, and use it as an avenue to improve our systems. I believe that, yes, we've come a long way when it comes to the systems we have, but we can only make ourselves better, make our systems better, make our countries better, and our region better by embracing change. The only thing constant in life is change, and you have to be adaptable to it. In the sense that the Taoboa villages noticed that they are in a disadvantaged level, and they chose to use that as an avenue to better themselves. Secondly, we have African countries that are using that, they are embracing innovation as a way to better the economic setups and the economic systems. Example is Ghana. an example is there's an entrepreneur in Mauritius who noticed that they're having a challenge in getting manure to increase their produce. He chose to take an innovative approach in using bats, the dung of bats, to use it, since in the specific city that he's in, there's a huge population of bats. So he chose to take that as an innovative avenue to better his agricultural produce. As we speak, he's one of the leading fertilizer suppliers in Mauritius and Africa in itself. And he's also one of the board members of African Leadership University. So this is an avenue in which people have actually taken a step back, analyzed the situation, and came up with innovative ways. I believe Barack Obama once said, "Don't ask what can the government do for me. Ask yourself, what can I do for the community? What can I give back? What are some of the avenues that I can use to improve the systems?" I believe that many in emerging economies, there are many institutional voids. In that, institutional voids can be gaps in the system that hinder you from achieving a certain task, or making your business bloom, or making the education system better. But if you use those institutional voids as a way to capitalize on entrepreneurship, on industrialization, we can use that as an avenue to generate income, just like the guy from Mauritius and Taobua, and better our systems. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Teresa, for that. Actually, you have spoken. You were left with like 30 seconds for your time to be over, and that is good. Thank you for your submission. We are now going to go to the third speaker from South Africa, and since it is only Mr. Wanda and Mr. Ali on the floor of the house, I'm waiting for somebody by the name of Victor in the studio to put on his to allow the camera and the microphone to be used by his gadget. So once you do that, the system will allow you to come in. But we'll allow Mr. Wanda to come in as the third speaker from South Africa, and his 5 minutes also begins now. Mr. Wanda, you can unmute.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think I can touch on and sorry for that.
I think, Mr. Wanda, we are still waiting for you to come on board. As you do that, I see more comments have started coming in. Somebody by the name December Ones. I hope I'm doing justice to this name, December Ones. He's saying that I think since Speaker Teresa has touched on the issue of Pan-Africanism, it will be best if we have continental database which can help the Interpol in terms of tracing criminal syndicates. And then we have somebody by the name Vincent Kareithi saying that agreed, change is inevitable. What, Mr. Wanda, I hope now you can proceed. If you can hear me, kindly unmute and proceed.
Yes, thank you so much. I think I will touch on the issue of trade in our continent. What I would want to express is the system of trade in our continent is actually a system that helps each and every nation that is developing or that is still developing, or that those that are already developed. When we look at our continent, Africa, it is a continent that is full of, riches. We are a continent that is pregnant with resources. We are a continent that is, that is so wealthy. We can't finish Africa, actually. The issue of trade that is upon us, or the system of trade that is upon us, it is a system that is actually making ourselves being able to expose what we are made of. If we take, for instance, South Africa, Botswana, like the southern region, a lot of minerals are there. When we look at how we trade these minerals, the system on its own is not affording a lot of people to benefit from it. More people are actually working as if these resources are not for Africa, and yet we are for Africa. There are some certain trade quotas that are there that are actually working nicely, that are actually allowing nations to develop, that are actually allowing, for instance, if we have some bilateral agreements, South Africa and Kenya, it will actually help us. If Kenya is very good in oil and whatever, we then get into trade agreements using that you give us our oil, we give you our minerals, which is a very good platform of doing that. But now there is an area for improvement. You'd see that if a nation is very good or is rich in this certain type of resource, are those resources now benefiting the people that are extracting those resources, the people that are working with that community where you find the resources? Are we doing the communities a good thing of developing them? Because sometimes you'd find that more communities, they work on resources that are so prized, that are so valuable. You can't deny the attachment of monetary value to it. But if you look at the life of the people that are actually maybe working on bringing up those resources, you can't relate, you can't equal the people that are working there with that kind of a resource. So I am actually saying that the trade system, it is good, but if, for instance, if we say maybe some people are producing some things, someone wants them, we need to create an environment that we cannot just trade and leave people that are working all the things that are being traded by the nation. They are just leaving them for death. They are not taking care of the environment from where they are coming from. So that's my submission of trade in Africa. I want to believe that there are some quotas that are also restricting people from trading freely. I can't sometimes trade because of some licensing that are going to hinder me. So you would see that sometimes I might not be able to get some licensing because I am not a guru in that area. I need to first have some billions so that I can access that licensing. So the trade sometimes it restricts and will actually, press down the people that are working the resources before they are traded. Thank you.
Thank you for that submission, Mr. Wanda. We now want to go to the final speakers of tonight. And because I can only see Ali from South Africa, he will be the final speaker. But before we get to Ali, we will listen to Timothy Mabango from Nairobi. And just to remind the people who are watching us live and who will watch this later, there is that link in the description. If you want to vote for the team that you think has persuaded you, you have the chance to do so. Timothy Mabango, your time starts now.
Hello and good evening. This is Timothy Mabango from Nairobi, Kenya, public policy practitioner, as well as other things which may not be relevant for this show. But now to the argument of today, there is a need for innovation, a creation of new systems. I'll start by citing an example of Mali. Well, many have criticized Mali because of the coup, especially considering the democratic ideals that we hold to date. But I'd like to give us an economic perspective of how good that has done to that country. Between 2020 and 2021, Mali experienced a 3.7% growth in GDP. 21 to 2022, there was a 3.8 percentage growth. Between 2022 to 2023, and between 2023 and this first quarter of 2024, there is an almost, or let's say an average of 5% GDP growth. All these you can verify from World Bank and Africa Development Bank websites. I would have added examples of how good innovation of new systems helps both political, economic, and social systems, since those examples abound. I can also cite Libya and Burkina Faso during Gaddafi and Sankara time, respectively, when education and health were near free in those countries. And Libyans, unlike now, never complained of external factors like wars fought abroad or currency fluctuation. The revolutionary Fidel Castro, who revolutionized and changed the system of Cuba, is also a perfect example of this debate I'm trying to bring across. Another example is in the slum of Kibra, which is in Nairobi, Kenya, perhaps among the top four, rather the top two biggest slums in the world. That is subject to correction. There are over 511 NGOs in Kibra, which, by the way, is only about 2.5 square kilometers, yet nothing is proving to work. We've employed brains from all across the world, people from all over Europe, across the Arabian world, people from the Maghreb, and even people from all across Africa. There are people from all across professions, counselors, social workers, law enforcement. We've tried all strategies possible, yet the system seems not to be bowing. That is the tragedy of this species, Homo sapiens. It pains to know that we keep recycling and reorienting systems, embracing a meretricious facade, hoping that things will change. This is equal to what Zabihullah Mujahid, who, for your information, is the spokesman for Taliban, he keeps selling hope about the change in system that the Taliban have put in place in Afghanistan, yet we all know clearly, yes, they are a terrorist group, or now that they're a government, of course, I stand corrected, calling it a terrorist group. Since Afghanistan took charge, since Taliban took charge of Afghanistan, the economy has shrunk by about 2.5%, which has exposed Afghans to potential starvation. That is the tragedy of changing people, changing methods, yet having the same system in place. So this is the gospel that I'll preach to you tonight. Let us wipe off our problems with a flood of innovation. Let's create a utopia from scratch, which will ensure a novel imperative, a new story told to the people. And the phrase that we commonly read from child school novels about people living happily ever after, it will become a possibility. So I leave it up upon you for you to decide what is best for Africa. To me, and as I have highlighted in my points, innovation is the way to go. Let's build new systems from scratch. Let's build a new world, and we'll see things change socially, politically, economically. Thank you. That is my submission.
Thank you for that submission, Mr. Mabango. You know, you still have 2 minutes on the clock. You have gone so fast, and since this is still your time, I'm going to allow for the remaining 1 minute. One more person from your team to say something. I know Maina Olushasha spoke a long time ago. Maybe there was a point you had not said. I'm going to allow you that 1 minute from Mr. Mabango to just say your point quite fast.
I think I'll just agree with what Timothy has said, that indeed we find ourselves with a challenge or with a situation which is tough, but there are two options. We can stay with the systems we have, or we can innovate and try to find new ways of doing things. And I still believe that our solutions lie not within sticking to the system, but coming out of the box and trying to innovate basically and coming up with new systems. Yeah.
Thank you guys for that submission. And now we have heard from all the speakers from Kenya. We are now remaining with one more slot for one speaker from South Africa, and then we can call it a debate. Now, the only remaining speaker in the house that can go as the fourth speaker is Ali Malikane from the mountains of Limpopo. And just to explain why we are doing this, we expected 4 South Africans, but unfortunately, we have only seen 2. So we allow Mr. Wanda to speak in 2 slots. Therefore, we'll allow Ali also to speak again for another 5 minutes. So Ali, if you can hear me, it is your time to speak for 5 minutes and proceed.
I'm not sure if you are audible at your end.
Ali, go ahead, we can hear you.
Alright, awesome. I'm not sure if I'm audible at your end. My network seems definitely on my end. It's not doing me any good. On the last one, since most of my teammates are not able.
Ali, hold on. Kindly. A minute. I think there is some network. There are some sound issues on your end. Check your sound. And also for Timothy, kindly mute your mic. So Ali, you can proceed.
Okay, I'm not sure if I'm audible enough.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, awesome. As I was saying that most of my teammates are not able to come in due to what is happening in the country now. It's a bit of a problem. We are actually sitting on our issues, so only few of us at the moment. Now, I'll touch on this one. I'll look into community. I would say that at the moment, I can tell you that each and every county is having at the moment is having its currency. You look at South Africa, it's having its own currency. Zimbabwe, its own currency. Kenya, all the other African countries, and at some point, you find that we have entrepreneurs that are coming from other African countries that are doing business with South Africa. And it's actually discouraging because I could tell you that the African brothers and sisters, they meet each and every day. But they're just failing just to sit down and say that. Let's make sure that we as Africa, we are going to use our talent. That is going to be easy. I know it's difficult.
Ali, no, I think we can't hear Ali. I'm not sure whether I'm the only person, but there's too much network issues from Ali's side. Please confirm if that is also happening on your end.
Okay, I'm not sure if you guys are able to hear me. Just let me know if you can hear me.
Now you are good, Ali. Now you are good. You can proceed kindly.
Now you are good, Ali. Now you are good. You can proceed. Okay, I was saying that what we do is that our African brothers and sisters, when they sit down in the African parliament, they should make sure that they is common in Africa. Because common currency in Africa is going to work in our benefit, because common currency is going to actually facilitate, it's going to actually facilitate trade by actually reducing the currency exchange cost, and to make sure that it encourages trade between the two countries, so that we can work with our other African brothers and African sisters that are in other African countries, so we make business to be easy. And also, it's going to assist a lot when it comes to price transparency. It can lead to a greater price transparency, and also simplify the cross-border transactions, and making it much easier for us to be able also to buy things from the other African countries. And there will be economic stability actually at the moment, because I can tell you, in the meantime, actually, in the meantime, most of our African brothers and sisters in the meantime now, they are actually buying online. And you know what they're buying online? Those who are buying online, most of them are not from South Africa. Most of them are from outside of the African continent. Why? You ask them why, they will tell you they're more cheaper than what they have to buy from other African brothers and sisters. So I believe if a common currency can sit down and work on it, it's going to assist us a lot, because it's also going to enhance investment. We'll see a lot of people moving out from one country to another African countries to invest, because it's going to be easy. I can make it short just in the meantime, because I see on my site, I'm no longer going to be able to go live. My systems are not going to allow me. I'm just going to cut it short.
Thank you, Ali, for your submission. And now we are almost getting to the tail end of the debate tonight. I don't know whether Timothy is back. Okay, let me check. But as we wait for Timothy to be back, maybe I can allow Grace from Team Nairobi to render a submission before we proceed. I'm informed there are observers in the studio. I cannot see any observers in the room. I'm still waiting for them to come on board. Grace, just a minute.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm glad that you. So I just want to end by saying that at the end of the day, we need to make tailored solutions. We need to make we need to increase agility. We need to be very proactive in whatever we want to endeavor as a society, as Africa, And my colleagues have also spoken about international trade, and also there's the Agenda 2063 that really covers on the power of emerging solutions. And just to bring this home, it's more about, what are we actually changing? Do we really want to be stuck in those narratives? And I'll just say something that I saw earlier, and it's a bit funny, it's a bit sadistic, but I'll just say it. And it says that it defines tradition as the peer pressure from dead people. That's tradition. So it, as relevant as it may seem, I think it is true. We are having that peer pressure to just stay, to just stay with what we have around us. But ask yourself, when you go to the immigration office and you want to go to New York or to the US for studying abroad, and you do not get your passport on time, you get your passport for you applied early, but in 3 years, a year, more than a year, you're still waiting for it. But someone who actually paid for it and went through the back door actually got it. That's what rigid rules does. The rigid rules actually make people to actually look for second options. So I'll just like to close it there and say that let's not pretend that we actually do not want to adopt new systems. And I'll yield the floor back to Wafia.
Thank you, Grace, for that. Can I allow Mr. Wanda also to give a final submission before the systems are okay and we can allow Tim to come and give the final submission from our side. Mr. Wanda.
Thank you so much. What I can say for now in closing is we can, like this debate or discussion, it is good because it opens up our minds and we end up, having some real solutions to the problems of the systems that are ahead of us. We can employ the things that we have actually heard from different speakers. It is something very great, something of paramount importance to hear what problems are brought by some systems that are already there, and those systems that are still working for a generation of our age. There are some systems that you can maybe sometimes see that these need to be changed, but then it will come to us that how best can we change this without taking away the good the system has been doing to us. Because remember, these are some of the systems that have taken us to where we are now. So refining or putting some inputs that we have heard from different speakers, it is very good, but we need to put them in a way that it takes the system to a more refined to a more refined pact, so that break it, but we refine it. That would be my final submission.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wanda. More comments coming in right now. I'm sorry I cannot be able to showcase that on the screen, but I can see somebody by the name Camp D Voices saying happily following. I've seen somebody by the name December once sending in a comment live, and Catlejo, Fidel Castro, and the rest. We really appreciate you doing that. I don't know, Ali, if you can still hear me. We should be putting in Tim to come on board and give his final submission, Timothy.
Hello once more. I hope I'm audible. Sorry for the technical glitch. My final submission will be methodical. For those of you who've studied philosophy, you understand that for an assertion to be considered true, you have to flow systematically from premise to conclusion. Where they align, then that assertion can be said to be true. And this is how I go. First and foremost, the story of Burkina Faso, which I've cited in my earlier presentation, gives us hope. It's an example of the hypothesis that creation of new systems can indeed have fruit. Look at the paper done by Sean McGavin in 2018, submitted to Old Dominion University and verified by the United Nations. It speaks about the significance of revolution in Burkina Faso in 1984. That can be found from the internet. Reading that document, you'd even imagine that state to probably have been a heaven down here with us. You see the joy of children enjoying free yet quality education, the peace there is in having a settled political paradigm with a satisfied public. On the other end, if ignorance were liquor, then perhaps this notion of reforms as a solution to the challenges that Africa or any other jurisdiction faces, to the perpetual failure and irredeemable challenges that we continue seeing, this notion, which I see our peers from Team Zanzi contending for, would be the brew that will intoxicate the public. And since the good book postulates that people perish for lack of knowledge, I'd like to hereby take the honors to enlighten you, our audience and fellow contenders, on this matter. When you hear such facts being spoken from a public policy brain here, you're assured of their plausibility and feasibility in that they're from verified sources. These are things we've seen working. We've seen revolutions come and go, revolutions that have worked to the best interests of the public, in which there was an overhaul of the system. Um, Matthew 11:12 from the good book speaks about the kingdom of God since the time of John the Baptist being taken by violence. And that is what I'm doing. I'm preparing you for the way and sounding the trumpet for holistic system overhaul, because that is simply what we need. You find the problems we've had, we've tried solving them using a variety of changes, reforms. We've even had policy proposals from different professionals. Sorry, we've had economists, we've had psychologists, we've had sociologists, all these professionals, and even political scientists giving us ways we can change the solutions, or rather even make law and legislation or policies for the change we desire. But ever since time immemorial, we've not seen it working flawlessly. Even for those systems in which we've seen changes in the system trying to result in better functionality, still there is no perfection. And that perfection is what Team Nairobi has told you we need to start from scratch. My love of Latin pushes me to use the language to the glare and flare of our assertions. I hereby say, est tempus incipit de novo. That means it is time to start anew. Team Nairobi rests in peace.
Thank you, Team Nairobi. They have indeed rest their case. Now, since all, I don't know if this is the right language, since both teams have rested their cases, I like to bring in Kate, the boss lady, to give us how she has found the debate before we wrap it up. Kate, all the way from South Africa, how are you? How are you finding the debate so far? How have you been able to be following the debate across? I'm being told that there's load shedding there, so you guys cannot be able to follow up quite well. But I can see you're here, boss lady. Kindly go ahead.
Oh, hi. Hi, everyone. Yeah, it is unfortunate that we have to struggle so much, with electricity. That obviously disturbs our network. So yeah, debate has been so wonderful. Hey, I missed a lot on tonight's debate, but I think the guys came guns blazing. Nairobians are dangerous and South Africa is here. So I find it to be very, very informative, as Wanda was saying, actually. It is not everyone from our end who are, politically active and involved and, but I guess from today going forward, we will go back and listen to what you guys were saying, and take it from there. Yeah. I missed a lot actually on what you guys were saying, so I'm just talking about what I heard, while I was in here or backstage. So yeah, and thank you so much for you went all out and researching on the motions that you guys were given, and I see you've done it wholeheartedly, so to come and dish up for us, so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that because yeah, you really brought your A game. So yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, fam.
Thank you very much, Kate, the boss lady, for finding time and power to come and join us before we end the show. Now, mine is just to remind our people that you can go and vote on the description on whatever platform you have been watching us from, whether YouTube, Bashira Speaks, whether YouTube on the other YouTube, that is Go Youth Podcast from South Africa, or Romomoloto on Facebook page. Kindly go and vote for the team that you think have persuaded you. Right now, we want to close My name is Mutathio Ashirawanyaga. Ici nĩ ngerenwa cia Mũmbi Mũmbũri. See you next time. Have a good day and good night and good week ahead. Ali, you can take us out.
Good night. Bye, guys.
Majamaa, it was a good one.
Connect very